Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, then let me introduce myself. I am Nicole Anderson, and this is Beauty in the Brains. If you're back, thank you so much for keeping up with my channel. I was gone for about 2 weeks because things got hectic with the holidays, and I made video after video, and I did not like them. They were terrible. And it was the same video. I'm trying to do a video on Agatha Christie. Even right now, I'm trying to do a video on Agatha Christie. If this third one doesn't turn out okay or good, then Agatha Christie is cursed and we shall never speak her name again. Okay, who was Agatha Christie? Come on, computer, turn on. Yeah, so what constitutes a nice person? Was Agatha Christie nice? I don't know. I'm one of those people, I don't like the word nice. If someone says, oh, you have to meet so-and-so, they're such a nice person, I'm so sus. Nice. I just don't like that word. Like, that's the best you could do to describe them. Maybe it's the fault of the person trying to describe them. I'm still super sus, you know, like, I think even Hitler could be nice. We can still say Hitler on YouTube, right? Is that a thing? I can't keep up with all the things you can and cannot say on YouTube anymore. Hopefully I didn't delete the info on Agatha Christie because I got really frustrated because, oh, there it is, okay. So you might wonder, why am I covering Agatha Christie? Is she in the horror genre? Queen of mystery, queen of crime. Ah! That came out of nowhere. Moving on. What was I saying? Agatha Christie, queen of crime, queen of mystery. I think crime is a horrifying thing. I think most of us can agree on that. If someone's poisoning my ass, I'm gonna be pretty damn scared. So yes, I would say that she is in the horror genre. If you really think about it, like, you gotta analyze that shit. Like, you can't just immediately put her in there. You gotta kind of argue that point. As we all know, Agatha Christie, she's from a long time ago, right? Any movie you see of hers, it's set in like Great Gatsby times. It's very luxe. It's very romanticized. That's what her time was like, and that's what most authors did regarding the 20s, is that, you know, they focused on the positive so heavily that our modern day readers and viewers, we think that the 20s was this perfect golden age. So essentially they're lying to us. But it's a form of escapism. Like, they are making the best of what they had, but it's not realistic. Let's just put it that way. So she was born in 1890, September 15th. And she died 1976 on the 12th of January. Her full name and title, she has a title, is Dame Agatha Mary Clarissa Christie. She was made a dame in 1971, fast forward, for her contribution to literature. But she was also regarded as Lady Malouin, also fast forward, after her second husband was given a knighthood for his archaeological work. So she was raised in an upper middle class family. She was homeschooled. She had quite a large family. Her father, for some reason, did not want her to start to learn how to read until she was 8, which is a strange choice. However, like, he had so many books in the goddamn house that she just ended up learning how to read by like the age of 4. As it is told, he had mystery novels and crime novels and horror novels, and that's what she was mostly drawn to. She supposedly just always knew that she wanted to be a writer. She worked as an army nurse during World War One. Yeah, I have some difficulty with that one, guys. And she was a pharmacist during World War II. I tried finding like how she learned how to be a pharmacist. She wasn't a doctor. I feel like she just proved through her novels that she knew enough about poisons and just general medicine that she committed to memory, that they were just like, okay, we are short of people, we're short of doctors, they're getting blown up to bits because of the war. We need whoever we can take. Yeah, I think that's how she kind of fell into it. Because she was not a doctor, she was not a nurse. She was an army nurse, but, you know, I don't know how much training they would have received. I mean, you were kind of just pushed into the fray of just do this thing now. Like, this is how you change a bandage. Everything else was kind of like common sense, or they were expecting that you had common sense to just do the thing. But yeah, I mean, she was by no doubt a very intelligent woman. She could figure things out really fast. She was a very quick mind, and she contributed greatly to the war effort. So she was just so beloved. She was like the ultimate woman. So she doesn't just inspire us today. She was definitely like a groundbreaker in her contemporary time. However, before the Second World War broke out, she was already famous, at least in England, and things were going pretty nasty with her marriage. And she disappeared one night. What the hell happened, Agatha Christie? Was it foul play? Was it some spy shit? I mean, what was going on? She's just up and was gone. She had like a 6-year-old child at the time too, so it was even more suspicious. And that, where is she? Where could she have gone? So the divorce was, it was snowballing heavily. And her first husband had asked for a divorce, but she kind of just like ignored it. The idea of divorce really settled into her mind when he announced that he was going to go to a friend's house, like a mutual friend's house, and that she was not wanted there. Apparently not just by him, but also by their mutual friends. So a lot of people thought immediately that this disappearance had to do with the stress of the divorce. That's what my mind goes to immediately as well. Conspiracies immediately start to pop up. And now I hate conspiracy theories, but in this regard, with Agatha Christie being such a mysterious woman, having already done so much with British intelligence, that there is a possibility that she could have used this divorce stress as some kind of excuse to do something more secretive. Let me explain a little bit more. The night that she disappeared, the day after, in the morning, so just a few hours after she had disappeared, somebody had found a car in like this field, and the person went through the things of the car to, it was kind of like just not crashed, but it like had obviously swerved into like this field. The door was like wide open. It seemed like something just was not right. And so the person was going through the things of the car to try to figure out whose car this was. They had found some items of women's clothing and other indicators that, at least just one woman was using this car. And so they notified the police, and the police quickly identified it as Agatha Christie's car. However, they immediately labeled her as a missing person. But why? Her daughter was safe. Like, she didn't like just abandon her child. Her husband was gone. Maybe they just like saw the state that the car was in. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't crashed into or anything like that. And it was just a few items of clothing. I don't know. She was a national treasure by that point, so maybe they just kicked it into high gear, and unlike what they do with just like regular people that could be missing, they're not like, oh, well, maybe she went on vacation. However, they couldn't find her for 10 days. 10 days. What? 10 days? You couldn't find her? That's where I get suspicious about all this stuff. So they had 15,000 people looking for her. 15,000. Plus like 1,000 cops, plus tons of helicopters, plus tons of airplanes and cars, and just, they had like half of England looking for her ass. For 10 days they couldn't find her. And then they discover that the whole time she was like just a mile away from her car in this hotel. I don't think so. And a lot of other people didn't think so either. Like, apparently, this is just a rumor because it's not in the official like police report. Apparently, they had gone to the hotel multiple times with like a photo and other evidence of like, is this person here? And multiple people at the hotel said definitely not. Like, they would have not, like, most of the people at the hotel knew who Agatha Christie was. They know what she looks like. However, they say that 10 days later, they found her in a fugue state in that hotel from like about a mile away from where her car was found, under a false name, specifically under her husband's lover's name. It just, it doesn't add up to me at all. And the fact that 10 days went by and that she wasn't found dead, I mean, most people that are missing persons, they are, after just a few days, if they're regular people, after like, I think 2 days, if the body or the person is not found, they are cold case and they are assumed dead. So I think, again, since because of her fame, she was not pronounced dead in the usual amount of time that most people are pronounced dead, and why they continued the search for such a insanely long time. But that also doesn't make a lot of sense, because there have been previous famous people in England who had gone missing, were labeled as missing persons, and the cops like labeled them as possibly dead within just a few days, even though they were also famous people, and they really could not find them. Like, no trace of them had shown up anywhere for days on days, and they announced it as a cold case because they just couldn't find the person, you know? So what was it about Agatha Christie? Like, were the cops really that dedicated to her? Now, this brings up another thing, is that she assisted in like a police investigation. A cop somewhere in England was working on this extremely difficult case that nobody could figure out. It was like this serial killer guy. And they could not figure out how this guy was killing people. Like, they were just dropping like flies. And one night he's reading one of her novels and he realizes that there's something adding up. That this killer is possibly using this specific kind of poison that she had featured in one of her novels, because it doesn't show traces in autopsy reports. And that is how it turned out to be true. And they found the guy and they were able to pin him down that this is what you're doing, you're using this poison. And it was all thanks to Agatha Christie. So I think the cops felt really dedicated to her, and I think they really honored her and they had a great respect for her. So maybe that's why they kept the investigation going for so long, to try to find her. There's just like a million ways that you can like dice up this story. And I've thought about it so many times. I still don't, like, maybe it really was a fugue state. That's the thing in the front of my mind. Because divorce is hard, and we should not underpin that at all by any means. Maybe it was a stress aneurysm kind of thing. So on with the police thing. It's, a lot of people think that it was most likely that she was helping the police with something secretive, and that they just like came up with this quick little story that, okay, let's just think up of something that can get you in the public eye but out of the public eye. It could have very well been that she was doing some top secret stuff. Like, let's say that she's in the Scotland Yard building and everyone's in on it. Everyone knows, okay, this is a cover-up story. She's helping us figure out this secretive thing, and you know, they're just misleading the audience into a diversion. That's the word I'm looking for. And then they, you know, everyone's like, oh, let's look in the woods. She's probably in the woods. Everyone's looking in the woods, and while everyone's in the woods, they sneak her back into this hotel, and she just pretends that she was in this fugue state. And then on the 10th day, she's like, oh wait, I'm Agatha Christie. And then the hotel people are like, oh, you are Agatha Christie. Like, let me know what you think in the comments down below, what you think happened during this disappearance. Was it something more sinister, or just was it divorce stress? I'm going to get into a part of this video that this information seems to shock quite a lot of people. I don't know why, really? All right, let me just say it because you're probably confused about what I'm even talking about. She was very racist. She was very colonialist. And she was also very anti-Semitic. People get shocked by that. However, she, the time she grew up and the place she grew up and the social situation she grew up in England, it's like most of those people were Orientalist, racist, and anti-Semitic. That was just the most common attributes for that class of people during her time. If you weren't like that during that time, then you are in a history book somewhere for being a pearl in a dung heap. And a lot of people think of Agatha Christie as being so wise, so overtly educated. She was, but this is just your little reminder, your daily reminder that just because you are an educated person does not mean that you are a saint, does not mean that you are a good person, that you don't have good morals. Just because you're educated doesn't mean that you don't have a superiority complex. You know, most educated people, if they're extremely educated, they're gonna have a superiority complex. They're gonna think they are better than you, and you, and you. That's just a thing. If you are a very well educated person and you see yourself as a normal dude, here's to you, man. Here's to you, or gal, or person. Anyway. So how was she racist, you might ask? Her best-selling novel, And Then There Were None, which I do believe is to this day the most best-selling crime novel. That book was originally titled 10 Little N-Words, which really makes no sense to me why it would be titled that. Apparently it has to do with a nursery rhyme, which it just kind of disgusts me because I really liked this nursery rhyme when I was a kid. It's the 10 little monkeys jumping on a bed. One falls off and bumps his head. And these monkeys, when I was a kid, like I literally saw like chimpanzees in my head, or like monkeys. And it was a more PC version for white people who didn't want to say the N-word anymore, but they still liked that nursery rhyme because I guess it, deterred children from jumping on the bed. But they use the word monkeys, which is still just disgustingly racist. Like, when you are educated that it's in this concept that, like, okay, well, we don't want to say N-word anymore, but let's just say monkeys. Like, one is not better than the other. Like, they're both terrible descriptions of a group of people. Like, it's... So she was also very anti-Semitic, and this is your little educational part of the video, that anti-Semitism is different than racism. If someone is being anti-Semitic and you're like, oh, you're racist, that's not correct. You can be anti-Semitic and racist at the same time, because there are such a thing as Black Jews, believe it or not. We are not all white. Some of us are white passing. It's a milieu of people. It's not just one kind of person. And it is anti-Semitic to think that Jews are just one kind of person, one kind of characteristic. So it has similar things to racism in the way that people act towards it, but they are different because Jews are not a race of people, or a singular race of people, let's put it like that. So there's a short story called The Coming of Mr. Quinn. I read it. It's in the collection of Midwinter Murders. I read it just this past winter. It was pretty good. I have a hair like stuck to my makeup and I can feel it and it's like itchy. Where are you? Oh, there you are. The Coming of Mr. Quinn, right. It was an okay story. It wasn't like fantastic. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I would have never ever thought that that story was originally an anti-Semitic tale. That this Mr. Quinn guy or somebody in the story. It wasn't that memorable of a story, so I'm not going to remember all the details, to be honest. Somebody in that story was originally described as a caricature of a Jewish man. The reason why people think that, or thought, or still think that Ebenezer Scrooge is a Jewish man because they are a miser, they're money obsessed, they have a big hooked nose, they are bird-like, they, the list goes on and on. And she used all of the all of the stereotypes that you could think of. And so the American publishers who produce her stories on this side of the Atlantic, they were so upset by this that the word Jew was attached to these characteristic traits that she had described in the novel or short story, that they wrote multiple letters of complaints to her, like her firm. So like this happened after she had passed. So during her lifetime, she never changed or edited titles or things in her books. Like she was like, that's how I wrote it, that's how it's gonna stay, nope, don't care. So this was after she was dead, and so her publishing house had full right to, edit her works. And so the publishing house was like, okay, yeah, fine, you can remove the word Jew connected to any of those traits. And so that's what they did. I am very grateful for it because I was highly disappointed. I think that's what shocks people, is that they have never been disappointed in Agatha Christie before. And now with this information, which has been around for like forever, it's just a matter of, has anybody told you, or have you come across it while researching her or whatever. Yeah, I was disappointed that during her lifetime she had the opportunity to edit these things and she didn't. That's my biggest thing. I just really don't believe this next part. A lot of her friends and family say that she was less anti-Semitic and less racist after World War II because of the horrors that she had read about and had witnessed. But it's like, if you really were less racist after World War II because of the way that Jews were treated, why did you not edit that out? Like, why? Like, it is that same reason that people like you on such a high pedestal have written something so terrible about a group of people that all of your readers is going to believe you. They're going to think, oh, if Agatha Christie says that this is how Jews are, then they must really have all been that way. Like, yeah, I think it's a bunch of horse shit that her family tried and her close friends tried to say that, oh, well, she was less racist. Like, less racist is not a thing. And, of course, she was very Orientalist. What is Orientalism? Just read some Edward Said, to be honest. I'm not going to do it for you. I'll do a little bit of a summary for you. So, she got remarried to an archaeologist, right? I had mentioned that before. She had met him because she took a ride on the Orient Express. That was a real train, believe it or not. And she went from Istanbul to Baghdad. And when she arrived to Baghdad, that's where she met her archaeologist husband, or what would be her husband. And so they took a fancy to each other immediately, and she decided to stay with him there. And so she ended up living in the Middle East for quite some time. It gave her a lot of inspiration for her novels, but this is a colonialist perspective. Most of the novels, or actually no, all of the novels that she has written that take place in the Middle East, they are from this mindset. It is a mindset of, it's almost like the female gaze or the male gaze. I mean, the male gaze. The female gaze is more of a modern thing. We're switching it on its head. The male gaze is like paintings that are only made for men to consume. So like naked Renaissance women, things like this. Like, these were not made for the benefit of women. They were made like basically as fetishized objects. Orientalism and colonialist mindset is very similar to that, of that they are bored with their tea and biscuit lifestyle and they want something foreign and exotic. And so, maybe they don't have the money to go to those countries to visit. maybe they have no real interest in going to the countries to visit because they have made it up in their mind that these people are dangerous or that these cultures are bad or something. And so they want to stay in their little English homes and just read about it. And when they read about it, they think that they suddenly know everything about it. No, wrong. You have to go there, you have to see things for yourself, but you have to try to do so without a colonialist mindset. So yes, congrats to Agatha Christie. She made the effort to go there and see things for herself with her own eyes, but she still had the superiority complex of that she is better than these people and that these people are less educated than her, and that, like, I can go on and on and on about this, but basically it's all from this colonialist mindset, which is not good. Not good. I give it a 0. So just keep in mind that it is a very outdated perspective on those people, on those religions, and on those cultures. Oh no, I gotta sneeze again. Oh, it's like something in my eyebrow. I like triggered something. Oh my gosh. Okay. Keep it together. Keep it together. A lot of people see Agatha Christie as like this very wise grandma. And well, like most people's grandmas, they're a little bit racist. They are, yeah. Most grandmas, I mean, you gotta love your grandma, right? She's your grandma. She gives you cookies, she gives you money, she's very sweet with you, but most grandmas make the off-color remark. And that's kind of like how I see Agatha Christie, is like, yes, she was a feminist trailblazer, yes, she was a fantastic writer, and she was very racist. You can be many things at the same time. So she was an interesting person. I will not deny her that. I am not, like, just because you are suddenly labeled as racist, that doesn't, you know, I'm not, like, here's her writing. I can critique that on a separate level. And then here's her racism, and I can critique that on a separate level. And the two don't, like, just because she's racist doesn't mean that she's all of a sudden a terrible writer. Terrible point of view, yes. With stories like The Coming of Mr. Quinn and Then There Were None, I think it is important for museums or libraries to conserve the original editions that have the unedited bits. So like the original title and the original anti-Semitic portrayal. And I think that's important to keep around and not just like burn to a crisp, because there's your proof that that's what she was like. I mean, we can't just put everything under the rug. I, however, will continue to read Agatha Christie's works, and I will continue to critique them. I have read Murder on the Orient Express, and I have read The Body in the Library, as well as about 20 of her short stories in the collection of Midwinter Murder. Or Murders, I don't remember the exact title. So that is it for Agatha Christie. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you going to continue reading her work? Are you still going to admire her? Have I ruined everything for you? I just want to know your thoughts about this whole thing. Can you separate art from the artist? That's a fascinating topic with me. I don't think that can apply to every artist, but I kind of cherry pick what artists I can separate from their work. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. If you are new here, then please do so as well. This is the only Agatha Christie video I will be doing. Follow me on Instagram, Beauty in the Brains, where I don't just cover the horror genre or the mystery genre or the crime genre. I read any old book that I want to read. I think in the next coming months I will have a bit more of a horror streak on my Instagram, simply because I just have a lot of horror novels laying around that I want to get through, and I have to read horror novels in order to continue making videos. So stay tuned. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Goodbye.